How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here in another video. So, of course, another week of playoff football is now upon us, which means it's now time for the NFL Divisional Round picks, as the wild card round has officially come and gone, as we have now started the NFL playoffs to see who will win the 58th Lombardi Trophy in Vegas. As last week we started our playoff field at 14 teams, and now we are down to the final 8. And after this week, we will find out who our final 4 will be for the championship rounds next week. So, of course, last week in the divisional round, I went 4-2 in my divisional round picks. So my record for this year goes to 179-99. And then, of course, on both games I got wrong last week were on the NFC side of the bracket. I was pretty perfect on the AFC side of the bracket. So, yeah, imagine that. And the only game I got right on the NFC side of the bracket was my team, which we'll get to that later on. But, yeah, anyway, with all that said, let's take a look at our divisional round matchups and see what we got. We're going to go through each one individually, since there's only 4 games this week. So let's get started. So the first game we're going to go over here at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon. We have the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens playing in Baltimore. Baltimore is favored in this game by 9 points. Of course, Houston coming off a big dominant win against the Cleveland Browns in the wild card round. While Baltimore, they were on the bye last week, since Baltimore was the number 1 seed. Of course, Baltimore, they lead the all-time series over Houston 11-2. And this will be the second ever playoff matchup between these two teams, as Baltimore and Houston have met before in 2011 in the wild card round. Baltimore won that game 20-13 over Houston. And, of course, on Baltimore and Houston, they did play earlier in the season, back in week 1, which was like C.J. Stroud's first start. Baltimore won that game handily, 25-9. However, though, Houston is not the same. This is not the same Houston team that Baltimore played back in week 1. Since that game, C.J. Stroud has pretty much scorched the earth. It broke almost every rookie QB record there is. As, let's be honest, C.J. Stroud, he's easily the fucking shoe-in for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So, yeah, this is a battle between the most likely candidate for Rookie of the Year and who will more than likely win the MVP this year. C.J. Stroud versus Lamar Jackson. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. In the end, though, I think Houston's going to put up a fight, but in the end, though, I think Baltimore's just going to be too much for Houston to handle. I think the Ravens will win this game. It's going to be a tough task for Houston again on the road in Baltimore. I got Baltimore winning this one, and I'm going to take Baltimore to cover the 9-point spread. So give me Baltimore in this game plus the 9-point spread. I think Baltimore will cover it. So yeah, give me Baltimore to cover over Houston. But the good news is, Houston, regardless of what happens, be proud of your season, because nobody thought you were going to be here. But yeah, Houston, be proud of your season, but the Cinderella run, I think, for Houston strikes midnight Saturday. Alright, now to our next game on the NFC side at 8:15 Saturday night. We have the Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers playing in Santa Clara. San Francisco was favored in this game by 8 points. Of course, Green Bay, they lead the all-time series over San Francisco 38-33-1. San Francisco, however, has the edge over Green Bay in the playoff meetings 5-4. And the last time Green Bay beat San Francisco in the playoffs, that was back when Brett Favre was the starting quarterback for the Packers. San Francisco has had Green Bay's number ever since then, when Aaron Rodgers was in charge. But this time, the 49ers are playing a different Packers QB, as this time they will be facing Jordan Love for the first time ever. So yeah, could Jordan Love do what Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre could never do? And that's beat both the Cowboys and the 49ers in the playoffs. Because the thing about both teams is that Aaron Rodgers could always beat the Cowboys, but never the 49ers. While Brett Favre, it was always Favre could always beat the 49ers, but could never beat the Cowboys. Could Jordan Love do what Favre and Rodgers couldn't do and beat both? That's going to be a big question here. Of course, San Francisco, they've been pretty mid at home, as San Francisco was 5-3 at home this year. Well, Green Bay was 4-5 on the road. However, Green Bay did get that big win last week in Dallas last week, while San Fran was on the bye for being the number 1 seed. Honestly, I say do not get fooled by the 8-point spread. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people may think. I think it's going to be a pretty close game in the end. I think it comes down to, can San Fran stop Jordan Love when it matters? And I think they can. I think San Fran's going to hold on. I don't think San Fran wins by 8. I think San Francisco will win by only 1 point. See, I got San Fran winning, but I don't think they cover the 8-point spread. I don't know. 8 usually favoring a team by that much in the playoffs is a little too high. I know at Baltimore and Houston, though, it's a bit different, though, because the last couple times Baltimore and Houston have played, those matchups haven't been close, but these matchups have usually been close. I think San Fran will win, but I don't think they cover the spread. I think San Fran wins by only 1. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people may think. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Packers, but I do think San Fran will win, and I think San Fran will advance to the NFC Championship game. So yeah, give me San Fran over Green Bay. All right, now we're going to stick to the NFC side, but we're going to head to Sunday afternoon, as our next game is at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions playing in Detroit at Ford Field. Detroit is favored in this game by 6.5 points. So yeah, and of course, Tampa Bay, they're coming off a dominant wildcard win over Philadelphia last week, while Detroit is coming off a narrow, nail-biting win over the LA Rams and Matt Stafford last week. But of course, Detroit, they lead the all-time series over Tampa Bay 32-29. However, this is only the second ever playoff matchup between these two teams, and the last time these two teams met was in the 1997 wild card round, which Tampa Bay won that game 20-10. However, both teams are a lot different since that day in 97. And of course, Detroit and Tampa Bay met earlier this season. Detroit won that meeting pretty convincingly, 20-6. And of course, for that game earlier in the year, Detroit was missing a good chunk of their starters due to injury. But this time, Detroit is a lot healthier than they were in that matchup in Week 6. However, Tampa Bay's also been different, too, since Week 6. Tampa, they're 5-4 on the road this year. Detroit is 6-2 at home this year. And we all know Ford Field is going to be really fucking loud this year. And, of course, when Detroit played Tampa earlier this year, it was effectively a de facto home game in Tampa, since the stadium got overrun by Lions fans. The only thing the Lions fan base didn't successfully overtake in that game and in that stadium was that fucking pirate ship in the end zone. I mean, if the fan base took over that pirate ship in the end zone, it would have been a perfect takeover. No doubt. But yeah, I'm not going to get fooled by that 6.5 point spread. I think this game's going to be closer. I think Tampa Bay's going to keep it close. But in the end, I think the Lions' grit is going to prevail over Tampa Bay. I think despite Tampa Bay's best efforts to cheat death, I don't think it'll be enough to beat the all-grit game. And I think for the first time since 1991, I think the Detroit Lions will advance to the NFC Championship game. So I have Detroit winning this game. I don't think they covered a 6.5 point spread. I have Detroit only winning by 3 points. Which ironically was how many points I had Detroit winning earlier in the season in Week 6. Which then Detroit ended up winning by a lot more. I don't know. Detroit, they could possibly cover the spread, but I think Tampa Bay's going to keep it close. I got Detroit winning by 3, and I have Detroit going to the NFC Championship game. And now, our final divisional round matchup. This is the big matchup here, the big marquee matchup of this round. It's Sunday evening at 6:30. Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills playing in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. Third time in 4 years that these two teams have crossed paths in the playoffs. Buffalo is the favorite in this game by 3 points over the Chiefs. And this will also be Patrick Mahomes' first career road playoff game. And I know before some of you will say, oh, but Mahomes is playing in 3 Super Bowls. I don't really count the Super Bowls as a road game because those are neutral site games. So it doesn't really count to me as a road game. Unless you want to count Super Bowl 55 when Tampa Bay was playing the game in their own stadium. If you want to count that as a road game, then maybe by all means. But yeah. Of course, Buffalo, they lead the all-time series over Kansas City 29-24-1. However, the Chiefs have had the edge in the playoff department as Kansas City leads that department 3-2. Of course, Buffalo and Kansas City, they did play earlier in the season about last month, which Buffalo won that meeting 20-17 in Arrowhead. And that was the one where Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid criticized the officiating over Kadarius Toney being offside. When that was the right call, Kadarius Toney was indeed offside. And then Mahomes and Reid got fined $15,000 for criticizing the officiating because they bit the hand that feeds. You know, it's pretty ironic that Chiefs fans want to bitch and complain about officiating, when ironically, the refs are the main reason why the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls with Mahomes in the first place. And of course, third time Mahomes and Allen have met each other in the playoffs. Mahomes has won both meetings. However, both those meetings were up in Arrowhead, as this time they will be taking place in Buffalo in Highmark Stadium in Bills Mafia country. And I think that's going to be a big difference. I mean, playing in Arrowhead's one thing. Playing in Bills Mafia is a wholly different thing. I know the last 3 regular season meetings, the Bills have won the last 3 regular season meetings, but Mahomes and the Chiefs have won when it mattered the most. However, both those matchups were in Arrowhead, and we all know, Highmark is a whole different ballpark than Arrowhead. You know, Kansas City, they have been solid on the road this year. They're 6-2 on the road this year. Buffalo, however, has been pretty good at home, 7-2 at home. I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And, of course, last time these two teams have met, it was also that whole coin toss controversy where Bills fans bitched and complained about the coin toss costing them the game. And I'll say this here. As much as I hate the Chiefs, I'm going to defend them on this side. The coin toss did not fucking decide that game. It was poor defensive strategy. Let me just say this. Football's called a team sport for a reason. You can't stop a 75-yard drive when it matters the most. You don't deserve to get the ball back on offense. Hell, you want to know what would have prevented that situation in that game a couple years ago, Buffalo Bills fans? Don't give up 2 40-yard plays in 13 fucking seconds. That's on you. You know what's ironic about that whole thing, though? The following week when Kansas City played Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game in 2021, Kansas City won the coin toss for overtime and they threw an interception. So yeah, I want to see that Kansas City-Cincinnati game, that's just all the proof you need that coin tosses do not decide games. Defense and strategy does. But of course, Bills fans just want to take the easy way out and act like Chiefs fans, instead of actually looking at the real problems. But yeah, for this game though, I think it comes down to who gets that ball last. And I think whoever gets that ball in the last 2 minutes is going to win this game. And I could see it being the Bills. I think the Chiefs have just been a bit inconsistent this year, just haven't looked the same as they were last year. And I think Josh Allen will finally beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, as I think the Bills have gone hot at the right time. Of course, both teams coming off dominant wins last week. Kansas City, of course, the dominant win against Miami. And then Buffalo having a clutch win against Pittsburgh last week. But this one, I think it comes down. I think Buffalo gets it here. I do not think Buffalo covers that spread. I think it's going to be a little closer. I think Buffalo wins by only 1 point. But I think the Bills will win this game, and I have Buffalo advancing to the AFC Championship game. I think Josh Allen will finally beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. So yeah, that wraps it up for my divisional round picks. My AFC Championship game, my AFC and NFC Championship games, I'm sticking to what I had in my bracket originally. So that means my AFC title game, I have it being Baltimore versus Buffalo. And my NFC title game, I have it being Detroit versus San Francisco. But yeah, that wraps it up here. That's all I gotta say, and I'll see you all whatever I make next. I'm out.